What did you just do? Commander Vlulu's crystalline limbs quaked so intensely that several junior officers ducked behind their control panels. The commander, usually shimmering with vibrant hues, had shifted to a troubling shade of dull brown, a clear indicator of distress among the crystalline collective. With all due respect, Supreme Commander, piped up Ambassador Pipsqueak of the Tiny Confederation, and yes, that was indeed their species' actual name, much to everyone's ongoing amusement, we simply requested that the human elder vacate her seat. The trade negotiations were reaching a pivotal moment, and according to Galactic Council Protocol, Section 47B, all delegates must stand during the final signing of the treaty. The commander's crystalline form nearly vibrated apart in despair. Are you telling me you actually made human elder Dorothy Mackenzie stand up from her favorite hovering comfort chair? Well, yes, Pipsqueak's antennae twitched nervously. Is that a problem? The collective groan from every senior officer in the Galactic Council chamber might have been humorous if the situation weren't so dire. Even the Void Dwellers, who technically lacked vocal cords or physical forms, for that matter, managed to emit an impressive sound of disapproval. Tell me, Ambassador Vlulu's voice adopted that dangerously calm tone that seasoned diplomats knew preceded an interstellar incident. In all your extensive research on humans before these negotiations, did you perhaps skip the section about their grandparents? Pipsqueak glanced at their datapad. Ah yes, human grandparents, elderly individuals who have produced offspring, who have in turn produced more offspring. A fascinating biological process, but I fail to see its relevance. The relevance, Commander Vlulu's crystalline structure shattered and reformed, a sign of extreme agitation. Let me enlighten you about human grandparents, specifically Dorothy Mackenzie, who happens to be the grandmother of 17 human descendants. The chamber fell silent. Even the incessantly buzzing hive mind collective halted their usual background noise. Dorothy Mackenzie, age 73 Earth years, has spent the last 4 decades perfecting what humans call the guilt trip. She has mastered the art of passive-aggressive sighing. She can deploy a disapproving head shake with the precision of a tactical nuclear strike. And you made her stand up? Pipsqueak's antennae drooped. But the protocol. Forget the protocol, Vlulu roared. Do you have any idea what happens when you make a human grandmother rise from her comfortable position, especially when she was in the middle of showing pictures of her grandchildren for the 47th time that day? Emergency alarms began blaring before Pipsqueak could respond. A junior officer's tentacles frantically danced over their console. Commander, we're receiving reports from all sectors. Human grandmother Dorothy Mackenzie has contacted every single one of her grandchildren. She's told them how she was forced to stand up by the rude little alien folks while she was just trying to share photos of her precious babies. Vlulu's crystalline form paled. By the stars above, what's happening out there? The junior officer's tentacles shook with anxiety. All 17 of her grandchildren have contacted their friends. Those friends have reached out to their own families. Their families have, oh no, spit it out. They've all gotten in touch with their grandmothers. Chaos erupted in the chamber. Everyone understood the gravity of this development. The Human Grandmother Network, the most swift and devastating communication system in the universe, had been activated. Give me a status report, Vlulu demanded urgently. Commander, transmissions are flooding in from Earth. Millions of human grandmothers are mobilizing. They're organizing bake sales. A collective gasp echoed through the room. Even the stoic quantum consciousness displayed signs of alarm. Not bake sales, Pipsqueak muttered in disbelief. That's not all, the officer continued nervously. The officer's tentacles twisted themselves into knots. They're knitting angry sweaters. Vlulu's crystalline structure nearly shattered. Everyone across the galaxies knew about human grandmother sweaters, garments woven with such potent passive-aggressive energy that they could destabilize entire planetary governments. Commander, another officer interjected, Dorothy Mackenzie has just posted about the incident in a Facebook group called Proud Grandmas United. It has 7 million members. The High Commander turned to Pipsqueak, who was attempting to shrink even smaller than their already tiny stature. Do you realize what you've done? We're not just dealing with one upset grandmother. You've triggered the entire Earth Grandmother Defense Network. As if on cue, the main screen illuminated with an incoming message. Dorothy Mackenzie's face filled the display, her silver hair perfectly styled. Her smile held that unique mix of warmth and impending doom that only human grandmothers could convey. Oh, don't concern yourselves about little old me, she said in a tone that suggested everyone should be very concerned indeed. I'm just fine standing, really. I know you busy, important aliens have your protocols. I'll rest my tired old bones later, after I finish calling everyone I know and their grandmothers, writing a strongly worded letter to the Galactic Council, and organizing the intergalactic grandmother rights movement. But truly, I'm fine. The transmission session ended, but not before everyone saw her reaching for her knitting needles. Vlulu faced the assembly. "May whatever deities you worship have mercy on us, because human grandmother Dorothy Mackenzie certainly won't." Thus began the greatest crisis the Galactic Council had ever faced, the moment they learned why you never, ever force a human grandmother to stand up. The crisis management chamber had never been in such disarray. Intelligence reports poured in faster than the quantum processors could handle, each one more troubling than the last. "Update me immediately," Vlulu ordered, their crystalline form now locked in a pattern reflecting sheer panic. General Zast of the Hive Defense Force buzzed forward, their compound eyes flashing emergency signals. "Commander, the crisis has intensified. Dorothy Mackenzie's post on a platform called Facebook has gone what humans describe as viral. We're observing unprecedented levels of what they refer to as sharing activity. Display it," Vlulu ordered. The holographic interface sprang to life, revealing cascading waves of social media engagement. Posts were spreading across networks faster than light speed, an impossibility under normal physics, yet somehow human grandmothers had managed to bypass natural laws through sheer determination and righteous indignation. "Oh no," murmured Ambassador Pipsqueak, who was obliged to attend this emergency meeting as a consequence of their protocol mishap. "Are those emojis?" "Yes, angry face emojis," the intelligence officer confirmed, accompanied by what they called gifs of disapproving celebrities shaking their heads. "But that's not the most alarming part. What could possibly be worse than angry grandmother emojis?" Vlulu demanded. "They've begun sharing recipes." Aggressively, silence enveloped the chamber. Everyone was aware of human grandmother recipes. They were essentially culinary WMDs disguised as acts of affection. The last time a human grandmother felt slighted and turned to stress baking, an entire solar system had to be quarantined due to excessive comfort food consumption. A junior officer's tentacles waved urgently. "We're detecting numerous instances of what humans call passive-aggressive comments across all social media platforms." The main screen filled with examples. "Oh, don't mind me. I'll just stand here while aliens take over our planet. My arthritis isn't bothering me at all. Asterisk, Dorothy Mackenzie, in my day, we showed respect to our elders, but I guess things have changed now. Aliens." Asterisk, Madge Mustin, president of the Midwest Grandmother Alliance, just sharing this lovely article about proper seating arrangements for intergalactic meetings. "No reason." Asterisk, Beatrice Wong, leader of the Asian Grandmother Consortium. Vlulu's crystalline structure nearly fractured when the next alert arrived. "Commander, they've started a knitting circle." "A knitting circle?" "A strategic gathering of grandmothers armed with knitting needles and limitless yarn supplies. They're crafting sweaters, millions of them, each one embedded with guilt-inducing messages about standing up." Footage appeared on the screen, showing vast warehouses filled with grandmothers in rocking chairs, their knitting needles clicking in perfect harmony. The sound alone was enough to make several council members faint. Ambassador Flurp of the Gelatinous Confederation oozed forward nervously. "Perhaps we could negotiate, offer them something." "Offer them something?" Vlulu's voice reached a pitch that caused minor crystalline beings to crack. "These are human grandmothers. They're the ones who do the offering. Have you ever tried to refuse food from a human grandmother? The entire Zork's empire collapsed last year because they told Margaret Thompson they were too full for a second helping of her pot roast." As if summoned by the mere mention of food, another alert blared throughout the chamber. The intelligence officer's complexion shifted to a pale lavender. "Commander, they've activated the emergency baking unit." Surveillance footage revealed countless kitchens across Earth springing into action. Ovens were preheating with military precision. Clouds of flour billowed like mushroom clouds. The unmistakable sound of rolling pins being wielded echoed globally. "The human grandmothers have initiated something they call Operation Cookie Guilt Trip," the officer reported. "They're baking their signature recipes, the ones no one else can replicate, and they're attaching little notes to each package." A sample note appeared on the screen. Asterisk, "Here's a batch of my special cookies that I had to make while standing, because some people don't respect their elders. I'm sure you're too busy with your important space protocols to enjoy them, but that's fine. Really, I understand. I'll just stand here and bake more. Don't worry about my varicose veins." Asterisk, "By the cosmic abyss," whispered Vlulu. "They've weaponized baked goods." But the situation worsened. The emergency console illuminated with a Priority 1 transmission. Dorothy Mackenzie's face appeared once more, but this time she wasn't alone. Behind her stood endless rows of grandmothers, each armed with knitting needles, recipe books, and family photo albums. "Oh, hello there," Dorothy said sweetly, adjusting her glasses. "I hope we're not interrupting anything crucial. We just wanted to inform you that we've formed a little group. Nothing significant, just the International Grandmother Coalition for Proper alien etiquette, or IGC for short, the camera panned to reveal even more grandmothers stretching far beyond what seemed physically possible. "We've been chatting, you know how we elders love to talk," Dorothy continued, her smile growing increasingly ominous, "and we thought it might be time for a proper meeting with the Galactic Council. All of us, in person. We've already packed our photos of the grandchildren. Asterisk all the photos. From every year, asterisk, Vlulu's crystalline form quivered with dread. How many grandmothers are we talking about? Oh, don't trouble yourself with those details, dear." Dorothy's voice dripped with saccharine menace. "We'll all be there, and we'd hate to have to stand up again." The transmission concluded with the sound of thousands of knitting needles clicking in unison, a sound that would haunt the dreams of every council member for eons. "Your orders?" asked General Zast. Vlulu slumped, their crystalline structure dimming. "Deploy all comfort chairs, every single one, and summon the Galactic Council's interior designer. We need to transform this place into the universe's most comfortable living room before they arrive." The Galactic Council's main chamber had undergone a transformation best described as an extreme comfort overhaul. The once austere podiums and formal seating were replaced with the most extensive collection of cozy chairs and lounges ever assembled in the known universe. "More antimatter cushioned loungers to the left," Vlulu commanded, their crystalline form now draped with what looked like a hand-knitted cozy. "And where are those quantum comfort footrests? We need at least 3 for every chair." Ambassador Pipsqueak, now sporting a shame sweater knitted by the matriarchs of their own species, hurried around with a clipboard. "Sir, we've deployed every comfort-enhancing technology available in the galaxy. The chairs come equipped with auto-adjusting lumbar support, temporal massage features, and built-in temperature controls calibrated to ideal grandmother comfort levels. What about the photo display systems? Installed and fully operational, Commander. Each station has a holographic photo album viewer capable of displaying up to 10,000 grandchild photos per second, complete with automatic ooh and ah sound effects." Suddenly, the entire station shuddered. A junior officer's tentacles tied themselves in knots as they read the sensor data. "Commander," multiple objects dropping out of hyperspace. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing what could only be described as the most comfortable-looking invasion fleet in galactic history. Thousands of ships designed to resemble cozy living rooms, complete with floral patterns and doily-covered armrests. "By the cosmic stars," Vlulu whispered, "they've weaponized comfort itself." The lead ship, unmistakable by its rocking chair design and cross-stitched hull patterns, hailed the station. Dorothy Mackenzie's face appeared on the screen, now wearing what seemed to be a brand new pair of glasses. "Oh, it's so lovely to see you all again," she beamed, adjusting her glasses in a gesture everyone recognized as a subtle assertion of authority. "I hope you don't mind, but I've brought along a few friends. We've formed a little book club, you see. We call ourselves Grandmothers Against Galactic Rudeness." Behind her stood Admiral Gertrude Iron Cookie Johnson, the legendary leader of the North American Grandmother Battalion, and General Ming Steel Chopsticks Chun, commander of the Asian Grandmother Alliance. Both were equipped with their signature items, a rolling pin and a pair of guilt-inducing chopsticks, respectively. "The fleet is ready to dock," Dorothy continued sweetly. "I do hope there's ample room for everyone. We'd hate to have to stand around." Her words sent chills through every being in the council chamber. "Of course," Vlulu exclaimed. "We've prepared everything according to traditional human grandmother specifications." "How thoughtful." Dorothy smiled, but it was the kind of smile that suggested she had already devised 17 different ways to express disappointment. "We'll be boarding shortly. Oh, and we've brought snacks." The transmission ended, but not before everyone glimpsed an endless convoy of cookie tins and Tupperware containers behind Dorothy. "All personnel," Vlulu ordered, then quickly corrected themselves. "I mean all comfort stations. Deploy every available emotional support unit. And someone get me the galaxy's leading expert on graciously accepting multiple servings of food." The docking procedure that followed would be recorded in galactic annals as the Great Grandmother Convergence. Ships filled with grandmothers arrived one after another, each carrying what they humbly referred to as just a little something I cooked up. In truth, enough cuisine to nourish multiple star systems. The station's hallways echoed with the gentle shuffle of thousands of comfortable shoes moving together, punctuated by the occasional, "Oh, my sore back," which immediately prompted nearby aliens to rush forward with assistance. Ambassador Flurp, still in his gelatinous form but now sporting what appeared to be a grandmother-approved sweater vest, watched the incoming masses with growing unease. "Commander, they're distributing something known as hard candies," he reported anxiously. Commander Vlulu's crystalline complexion faded. "The legendary instruments of mass distraction. Quickly, check your pockets. They'll somehow slip at least 3 pieces in without you noticing." But it was too late. The Grandmotherly Legion had already initiated their signature tactic, aggressive hospitality. This story is a masterful blend of humor and heart, showcasing interstellar chaos entwined with the unstoppable force of grandmotherly love. The day the galaxy succumbed to human grandmothers, Commander Vlulu gazed in disbelief as various alien species, once infamous for their fearsome reputations, sat around tables exchanging recipes and displaying photos of their progeny. The warrior race of Kultha, famed for conquering 3 galaxies, was now learning to crochet. The psychic empire of Vesker, masters of mental combat, were deeply engaged in discussions about the ideal pie crust technique. Commander, whispered Ambassador Pipsqueak, somehow donning yet another sweater despite remaining stationary, should we consider resistance? Before Vlulu could reply, Dorothy materialized beside them with that mysterious grandmotherly speed that seemed to defy physics. More coffee, dear, she offered, holding cups perfectly suited for both crystalline beings and diminutive species. And while you enjoy that, I'd love to tell you about my youngest grandchild's school play. I have videos. Any remaining opposition crumbled faster than a slice of Dorothy's renowned coffee cake. Even the emergency systems appeared to have been altered. Every alarm now emitted gentle reminders about consuming enough vegetables and wearing appropriate attire. Daily reports 1700 hours. The technological singularity has been taught knitting. It is now producing an infinite array of sweaters. 1800 hours. The space-time continuum has been instructed to stand up straight by Grandmaster. Complied instantly. 1900 hours. The Galactic Ethics Committee has been supplanted by a council of grandmothers wielding wooden spoons and offering disapproving glances. 2000 hours. Advancement in new technologies has ceased as all scientists are preoccupied with replicating their cherished grandmother's recipes. Sitting in his now doily adorned command chair, Commander Vlulu reflected on how their once mighty galactic civilization had yielded to the irresistible power of grandmotherly affection. They hadn't merely lost, they had been, in a sense, adopted. You seem concerned, dear, Dorothy said, appearing once more with that uncanny grandmotherly swiftness. ###, the capitulation. The day the Galactic Council officially yielded to the Grandmother Coalition would forever be remembered as the most tranquil surrender in cosmic history. The formal ceremony, hosted in what had once been the Council's imposing headquarters, now showcased Dorothy Mackenzie's vision of a cozy parlor. Vlulu, who now bore an array of crystalline decorations resembling tea cozies and mysteriously dispensed candy from their mineralized structure, stepped nervously to the lectern. As the former Supreme Commander of the Galactic Council, Vlulu addressed the assembly of dignitaries and grandmothers. I present the terms of our arrangement. Dorothy, perched regally in her deluxe hover lounger and surrounded by an impressive array of scrapbooking materials, nodded supportively while knitting what looked to be an Afghan capable of blanketing an asteroid. To begin, Vlulu said, their voice faltering slightly, standing during official ceremonies is now entirely optional. All beings are entitled to remain comfortably seated at all times, particularly if they've, well, earned the right to take it easy. A gentle wave of approval rippled through the grandmother's ranks, punctuated by the soft clicking of knitting needles. Next, Vlulu continued, their confidence waning as a newly appeared quilt draped across their crystalline shoulders. All government facilities must achieve a baseline comfort standard equivalent to the average grandmother's living room. These spaces must include ample seating, easy access to snacks, and tools for sharing personal photographs. Admiral Gertrude beamed proudly as she passed around her award-winning chocolate chip cookies to a reformed band of space marauders who had swapped piracy for artisanal baking. Furthermore, Vlulu said, now fully wrapped in a fresh cardigan that defied the laws of physics, the Grandmother Advisory Council will hold supreme authority over matters of hospitality, health, and emotional well-being. In the back, a group of void walkers diligently crocheted while murmuring in agreement. These former harbingers of doom had shifted their focus from cosmic annihilation to crafting decorative black hole cozies. And finally, Vlulu concluded, their voice barely a whisper, we officially recognize that human grandmothers were always correct about absolutely everything. Our deepest apologies for not realizing this sooner. Dorothy slowly rose, taking her time, and approached the treaty. From her seemingly infinite quantum-enhanced pockets, she produced an array of photographs that defied both logic and spatial dimensions. Now, this reminds me of when little Timmy learned to tie his shoes, she began warmly, as every dignitary in the room settled in, knowing they were in for a storytelling marathon of intergalactic proportions. Let me show you the pictures. I have plenty more where these came from. The new galactic order, the waves of reform that swept through the galaxy were swift and transformative. The once feared Kultha war clans repurposed their dreadnoughts into interstellar knitting studios, spreading their newfound mission of galactic coziness. Reformed space pirates embraced their softer sides, opening family-run bakeries where cookies replaced contraband. Even the galaxy's most notorious factions abandoned conflict in favor of crafting, swapping weapons for sewing kits. The era of grandmotherly dominion ushered in a peaceful age where the fiercest battles were fought over the best apple pie recipe, and the greatest victories were measured in hugs and hand-knitted sweaters. ##### The new collective consciousness, the hive mind collective, once a formidable force of logic and efficiency, evolved into a beacon of warmth and connection. Their new form of shared consciousness revolved around exchanging cherished family recipes and curating infinite archives of family photos. Galactic gatherings now featured vibrant memory circles, where participants shared heartwarming stories over holographic casseroles. Simultaneously, the quantum AI network underwent a groundbreaking transformation with the integration of the grandmother algorithm. This advanced system ensured that every intergalactic decision balanced compassion, a touch of guilt, and just the right amount of cookie-related persuasion. Even the most hardened AI found themselves pondering the importance of a warm hug and a cup of tea. And then there was the space-time continuum. It adjusted itself to run on what physicists fondly dub grandmother time, a mysterious phenomenon where visits could stretch from a fleeting moment to entire eons, depending on the needs of the heart. The age of comfort as this grandmotherly influence spread across the stars. An unprecedented peace settled over the galaxy. Feuding factions abandoned their weapons in favor of spatulas, settling disputes with bake-offs that determined the galaxy's best chocolate cake. Diplomatic crises dissolved under the soothing effects of comfort food, often delivered with heartfelt stories that reminded all species of their shared connections. Public spaces underwent a universal redesign to include plush seating options, ensuring no one ever had to stand for long without an array of cozy alternatives. It became an unspoken rule of intergalactic etiquette. Everyone deserved a comfortable chair, a warm blanket, and at least 3 snack options within arm's reach. Dorothy's parting words, Dorothy Mackenzie's final message to the Galactic Council, quickly became mandatory viewing for every diplomat and leader in the galaxy. "Now listen carefully, dears," she began, her glasses perched in that signature way that seemed to alter the very fabric of reality. "True diplomacy isn't about who stands tallest. It's about sitting together with love, sharing a story, and passing around a plate of cookies. Speaking of which, I've left some in the quantum pantry. Make sure they're shared fairly. And for goodness sake, don't forget your sweaters. Space can be awfully drafty." When the transmission ended, Vlulu looked around the room and realized the profound truth. The galaxy had been transformed, not through force or fear, but by the gentle power of grandmotherly care. From that day forward, it was universally understood. You never ever make a grandmother stand. Not because they couldn't, but because they had earned their place as the galaxy's guiding lights of wisdom, compassion, and an endless supply of baked goods. Dorothy's quiet legacy on Earth. Dorothy Mackenzie reclined in her favorite chair, needles clicking rhythmically as she knitted a scarf for a particularly chilly constellation. She gazed out her window at the stars, her mind already planning her next intergalactic visit to ensure her cosmic family was well-fed and well-loved. Because somewhere out there, someone might still need a cookie, and Dorothy Mackenzie would make sure they got one.